organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up tonight on Daily Iowan TV.
Find out what's next for one local apple orchard that's been very successful so far this fall season.
And we'll give you the latest on a legal settlement involving the University of Iowa.
Another week and another Hawkeye is receiving recognition from the Big Ten Conference.
For back-to-back weeks, one Hawkeye is the Offensive Player of the Week. Find out who in sports.
We've got all that and more coming up.
You're watching Daily Iowan TV.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jeremy Meyer.
And I'm Katie Sextro.
$150,000. That's how much the University of Iowa is paying up after settling its case against a former study abroad director. Janice Perkins sued the university 3 years ago, saying she'd allegedly been bullied and harassed by her superiors, Downing Thomas and Lori Creighton. Perkins was fired after returning from a leave of absence under the Family Medical Leave Act. Perkins said she was wrongly fired because of her disabilities, including an autoimmune disease and depression. The University of Iowa claimed she and another employee were let go after a reorganization of the International Studies program. We reached out to Perkins, but she could not be reached immediately for comment. Daily Iowan TV talked with UI spokesperson Tom Moore Monday. He stated that the university is glad the issue has been resolved, but declined to go into further detail.
Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders made his way through Iowa City Sunday to address students, citizens, and media. Ethics and politics reporter Alexander Wojcik is in the Daily Iowan newsroom with a recap of Sanders' visit, as well as an update on the polls.
Thanks, guys. I'm Alexander Wojcik with the Daily Iowan's Ethics and Politics Initiative. Bernie Sanders returned to Iowa Sunday afternoon, attending one of his very first house parties. He also made it to the Johnson County Democrats' annual barbecue. I was at the house party, and the intimate setting allowed for Sanders to take audience questions after he hit on some of his main talking points. Sanders stressed the importance of mobilizing voters in order to make what he called a political revolution. The people I spoke to at the event primarily told me that they like the fact that Sanders doesn't have any major PACs funding his campaign. And then supporters also told me that they liked the fact that his money is coming from individual donations. Sanders said he didn't want money from big corporations because he doesn't represent their interests. Be sure to get the latest on Iowa politics by following the Ethics and Politics team on Twitter.
An Iowa inmate is missing after he left an Iowa correctional facility on Saturday. 31-year-old Blake Lyon was granted a 30-hour leave from the Lynn County Correction Center, but he allegedly did not come back when he was supposed to. Lyon is awaiting trial for a domestic abuse assault charge. Anyone with information is asked to call the Lynn County Sheriff's Office or the Cedar Rapids Police Department.
A 10-year-old girl from Iowa has been hospitalized after reportedly being hit by a train. The Council Bluffs Police Department said the girl was found between two sets of train tracks around 12:30 p.m. Sunday. She was awake and responding. The girl was taken to a hospital in Omaha, Nebraska that day. Officials say they think the girl was trying to cross a set of tracks after a train had passed, but was struck by another train coming the same direction.
Iowa City's local Wilson's Apple Orchard is just about to break ground on a new project after a summer that seemed custom-made for growing apples. Business has been booming and they're looking to expand, but it's not in size that the orchard will grow. Rather, the owner of Wilson's Orchard, Paul Rash, hopes to shrink the distance between local farms and local customers. Brianna Jett has the story.
Wilson's Orchard has a strong history of connecting customers to the roots of where their apples come from, sometimes even literally. Especially for kids, the orchard can transform into a classroom and offer a lesson on how food is made. Jessica Danielson, a first-time visitor at the orchard and a mother, said she works hard to make sure her children understand how it all works.
You know, going into the grocery store, I'm amazed that they don't know where some of that stuff comes from.
But now, the owner of Wilson's Orchard is taking it one step further.
Wilson's Orchard is more than just a place to pick your apples. They offer everything from honey to homemade apple cider donuts. But in the next year, they're hoping to expand and offer so much more.
By next August, Wilson's Orchard will be home to a cidery.
We're kind of caught up right now in making really excellent hard cider.
But in addition to the alcoholic drink, the Bar and Rash plans to build will offer customers a lot more, namely another way to connect to local food. Rash wants to work with other local growers to provide all kinds of meat and produce that is grown here in Iowa and stays here in Iowa.
I think we're finally getting back to a reality that includes, getting customers and farms connected kind of in a web,
It's not just a business move. Rosh said it's an ethical issue. We owe it to ourselves to be aware of what we're buying and what we're eating. Brianna Jett, Daily Iowan TV.
You know, guys, I went to an apple orchard and a pumpkin patch this weekend, and it was beautiful, but it was so windy.
Well, in the middle of October, let's see if that fall weather is here to stay. Let's toss it over to Andrew Roberts, standing by in the weather studio. Hey, Andrew.
Thanks, Jeremy. Well, it looks like we have another up and down week ahead of us as the weather continues to keep everyone guessing what season it really is. Taking a look at Tuesday morning, temps should be a little bit warmer than yesterday in the upper 50s with partly cloudy skies and also a bit of wind coming from the south-southwest. Moving ahead to Tuesday afternoon, temperatures are going to rise quite a bit into the low 70s with a slight chance of rain that is only going to continue to rise as we move along into the evening. As night falls, the temp will drop down to the mid-60s along with a 49% chance of rain, much needed rain after this dry start to the fall season. As for the rest of your week, the chance of rain will carry over to Wednesday morning, so be prepared as you make your way to class. Overall, it should be another in-between day with highs in the upper 70s and lows sitting in the mid-40s. Thursday, expect the temp to decline somewhat as we are anticipating a high of 67 degrees and a low of 48 with partly cloudy skies. Friday, the temperatures will be about the same, but the rain may make another appearance. Saturday and Sunday, the temps will continue to fall with highs for both of those days in the low 60s and lows hanging in that upper 30 to low 40 range. You can expect partly cloudy skies for the majority of your weekend. That's all I have for you today in the weather studio. Back to you at the desk.
Looking for a break from studying or need a getaway weekend adventure? Almost all college students will answer yes to that question. Here at the University of Iowa, one committee is providing students with just that. The University of Iowa Campus Activities Board is in full swing this year, planning activities and events for students to partake in. What some students don't realize is that they have fun activities off campus that their students and friends can sign up for. And by off campus, they mean road trips to destinations hours and states away. In years past, the board has planned events such as a day trip touring St. Louis, trips to Chicago Blackhawks games, musicals like Wicked in Chicago, and a trip to the Mall of America. After canceling their first road trip this year due to a low amount of attendance, this past weekend their trip to Vala's Pumpkin Patch in Gretna, Nebraska was a success. Transportation is always provided. Students just have to purchase tickets at the IMU Welcome Center. All trips are planned on the weekends and are available at a low cost. Now, students can find more information and upcoming road trips on the CAB website.
An 80-year-old gangster went on trial Monday for charges that allege he was involved with a $6 million Lufthansa holdup in 1978. This legendary holdup was portrayed in the hit film Goodfellas. The armed robbers took cash and jewelry at a cargo terminal at Kennedy Airport. The gangster, Vincent Azara, was made a member of a famous organized crime family in the 1970s. His father and grandfather were both a part of the gang. If convicted, Azara faces a maximum sentence of life in prison.
Well, Katie, so far so good for the Iowa Hawkeye football team, 7-0 and ranked 12th in the nation.
Yeah, it was such a great game this weekend, and those backup running backs, they really stepped up. Well, let's toss it over to Katie Reber and Laura Belanda, who will tell us more in the sports studio.
The Hawkeyes had lots of doubters as they traveled on the road to Evanston, Illinois. Many members of the national media counted the Hawkeyes out of the game before it even started.
One of those doubters was ESPN lead analyst Kirk Herbstreit, who apologized to the Hawkeye faithful after the Hawks walked away with a 30-point victory. Herbstreit tweeted, "I completely underestimated Hawkeye football today. Thought injuries were too much. Boy, did I whiff. Congrats, Hawks. Looking good."
As Herbstreit pointed out, Iowa's storyline has continued to be nothing like people were expecting, and that not only stayed true from the win itself, but from the players. One position took an unexpected twist. Football reporter Taylor Brooks has more.
At the beginning of Iowa's season, it was obvious that Jordan Canzeri and LaShawn Daniels Jr. were going to be the go-to running backs, but Daniels suffered an ankle injury that has held him back in the last few weeks, making Canzeri take almost every single snap. But a sight happened at Northwestern on Saturday that no one wanted to see. Canzieri went down on a run play and was sidelined the rest of the game. Going off of Iowa's motto, the next man in, someone had to step up. But in this case, it was two players that were ready to go. Before Saturday, Akram Wadley and Derek Mitchell Jr. only had 87 net rushing yards combined and one touchdown coming from Akram Wadley this season. But that all shifted against Northwestern.
Big backs, we just needed to step up. It could have been Derek Mitchell, LaShawn, he was still a little hurt, so just had to step up to the plate.
The pace of Iowa's running backs could have completely stopped after Jordan Canzieri went down. Instead, Wadley took some advice from Iowa's leading rusher and held onto the ball for 4 touchdowns.
All he told me was to hold on to the ball high and tight. That's been my big problem.
Those 4 touchdowns tied a school record for single-game touchdowns, following right behind Canzieri in the North Texas game.
It's a great experience. It's a huge confidence boost going into the bye week, and just want to keep up the momentum, and I don't want to get too comfortable.
Wadley wasn't the only running back breaking the plane against Northwestern. Derek Mitchell Jr. added to Iowa's final net rushing yards at 294 by adding 75 from his own feet.
Just keep the ball up, just keep it high and tight, and just make plays because they know we're playmakers, and then we're all capable of making big plays.
Mitchell moved from wide receiver to running back in 2015 spring practice, and the move seems to be paying off, especially after his first touchdown added to the hype of getting 10 carries against Northwestern.
It was very exciting. I mean, getting in the end zone my first time in my career.
At Ryan Field, this has been Taylor Brooks for Daily Iowan TV Sports.
The Hawkeyes' Akram Wadley has been named the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week after his performance against the Wildcats of Northwestern.
This was the first Offensive Player of the Week award for the New Jersey native, and this now marks back-to-back weeks that a University of Iowa offensive player was featured as the Player of the Week. Last week, it was Jordan Canzieri, who Wadley actually stepped in for.
It's pretty exciting, and hopefully we have some Big Ten Players of the Week when basketball rolls around.
The Iowa basketball team starts their 2015-2016 campaign in just over a week.
The Hawks are coming off of a very impressive season just a year ago. There are many new rules and regulations that will be implemented in Big Ten basketball. Many of the coaches and players weighed in on what they thought of the changes.
Of all the topics brought up at Big Ten Basketball Media Day to different coaches and players, one was consistent. What did they think would happen this season now that new rules were taking over?
Well, I think the biggest adjustment in the game is getting used to the different defenses you're going to see because of the shot clock.
These changes include things like the shortened 30-second shot clock, fewer timeouts for each team, shortened substitution time from 20 seconds to 15, an extended 4-foot arc beneath the basket, and others. Now, changes like the shortened shot clock haven't been altered since the 93-94 basketball season, but coaches are reacting just the same.
Always remember, some of us have been around so long, we've coached to every rule change that's ever been put out there, and there's been quite a few if you really think about it.
Which simply means adjusting preseason play to get their players ready. And even though teams are only a couple of weeks into practices for the season, players say they are preparing early and accordingly for the changes.
Well, actually in practice, we play with like a 24-second shot clock. So it's even quicker than it will be in games. So just kind of getting us used to the new rule changes and things like that.
For the Iowa Hawkeyes, the new rules don't even seem to be that much of a concern, just more of a challenge to improve their play.
We have an up-tempo game. We run and gun, we push it on the break, and I think the 30-second shot clock is going to help us.
So it remains to be seen how it will be collectively changed, but in terms of our approach, we're not going to change anything.
Despite all the rules and regulations that have changed for the game, coaches and players alike are optimistic for the season and hope for good outcomes. From Big Ten Basketball Media Day in Chicago, I'm Hannah Thompson, Daily Iowan TV Sports.
Well, that's it for us. Katie and Jeremy, back to you.
That's all we have for you tonight on this live edition of Daily Iowan TV.
Be sure to check us out tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Katie Sextro.
And I'm Jeremy Meyer. Go Hawks, and good night.